Hey guys, this is Faith from the Writer's Song, also known as RF Gammon. This is my fourth attempt to start this. People keep coming in and I keep making mistakes. Hi, this is my cat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started on this now because hopefully we can actually get through some of these questions that you guys have. So you asked, I'm doing a writing vlog. You asked your questions. I'm here to answer. So without further ado, let's get going. First question is from Ketra. What do you allow to come from your life into your writing? I think the biggest thing is my own experiences, to some extent. So my protagonists, I always try to make sure that my protagonist is not me, because I don't want that to be the case in my books. I don't want to have Sarah J. Maas syndrome or anything like that. But I try really hard to make my characters be relatable and real, and so part of that is taking my life story and the things that I've been through and putting them into the story in different ways so that it's not obvious that it's my story, but you can still feel the realness of it. So like being betrayed by someone you thought you could trust, being sick out of nowhere, the difficulties in making friends and small friend groups, but siblings, that kind of thing. Just being scared, being up against massive odds that you're really not prepared to deal with and that scare you to death. Like, I know people have talked about my protagonist being passive, but a lot of that is just because I think we need more scared girls in fiction, because I know that would help me. Just saying. Anyway, okay, second question for her. Why do you write? I write because I've been writing my whole life. My creative outlet used to be I would make paper dolls and I would play with them and they would be from my stories, and I had tons and tons and tons of paper dolls. But nowadays I just write because I would rather do that. I wrote my first story when I was 4. I haven't looked back since then. So I've been writing my whole life. I'm not really sure why, but it's just what I do. What's your writing schedule? I don't have one. So yeah, that's fun. I try to make schedules, but it doesn't always work out. Like, I was planning on writing a different story for Camp NaNoWriMo than the one I'm doing, but I actually started writing this one on a whim, and it's been really fun, and I'm really enjoying it, and I think this is going to be like a big standalone novel. It's a new one. It's not related to Pentagreens, and I'll share more about it later, but right now, all you need to know is it's a standalone. It's crazy unique, and I have no idea what's going on half the time, and I love it wholeheartedly. So yeah, I don't have a schedule. I just want to get King's Daughter done so I can pitch it, and I want to finish the 100 for 100 right now. Those are my goals. And my Camp Nano goal is to 20,000 words, so a little lower than I usually go, but we'll see. EB says, why aren't Derek and Carriana canon when you want them to be? Because being a character-driven author, for me, doesn't mean that the characters take precedent over the plot. Now, it means the characters take the wheel, and I just hang on to the back of the motorcycle screaming. Okay? So, it's not my fault that they're not canon. It's theirs. It's all their fault. Could they ever be canon? What is your biggest writing goal? I'd love to hit the NYT bestseller someday. That would be awesome. I also would love to just have people love my stories. That would be amazing. I've heard you guys have said some really sweet things about my books already, and that blows my mind. The number of people who have said that one of my characters has gotten onto their favorite characters list, or their story was helpful in some way, or that they really loved it. I love you guys. You're the best. So yeah, just touching people would be fantastic. If you had to pick between these two, which would you pick? Dariana or Carrick? They're not canon. The right answer is Dariana. As always, I have to ask, what is your favorite book that you've written? Was that a good impression of you? I think that was probably a good impression of you. My favorite book that I've written is probably The King's Daughter, because in its current incarnation, not the earlier ones. The earlier ones are scary. you want a lack of agency, just read those ones. None of the characters do anything. It's ridiculous. Also, Derek and Cariana don't exist in the 2 earliest versions. So, yeah. Clearly this is the best one. Stop. And then the other one, my new work in progress that I was mentioning earlier, that I haven't really done a lot with yet. I haven't shared much about it, but I'm going to be sharing more about it later, and I really, really am loving that one. It's been a super fun ride so far. Even though I'm less than 10K into it, I'm loving it. So yeah, that one for sure. Do you hate me yet? Yes. Okay, moving on. Lila says, how many genres have you written in? Are there any genres you haven't written in that you want to try out sometime, or maybe that you never want to try out? Okay, so I've written novels in fantasy, dystopian, contemporary, and what even is Inkstorm? I don't even know. It's some kind of like fantasy thing. I don't know, honestly, people. Magical realism? Don't ask me. I don't know. And then in terms of flash fiction, I've written thriller, mystery/horror, of all things. Help, sci-fi, and I think that's it. I tried to write a comedy, but then it ended up being all serious, so, like, what does that say about me? That's kind of a scary thought, honestly. And some genres that I never want to try out. I mean, I liked the one horror story I wrote, but I don't think I'm going to do much with that genre again, obviously. I would never write a full thriller. I wrote a couple of thriller short stories, but I wouldn't try going back and writing, like, a full novel thriller. Although one of my flash fictions that I wrote I really liked, and it was a thriller, and I might try to expand it just because it's mafia type stuff, and I like that kind of thing. So yeah, that's, and then the genres I want to try, the one that I'm really excited to write at some point in the future is alternate history, kind of like the Wolf by Wolf series. It's a World War II trilogy that I'm planning to write, where it's looking at the question, what if the Nazis won World War II, which I know has been done before, but I have a different take on it from what I've seen. So we're gonna try it and see how it works. I think it'll be cool. That's a genre I'm really excited about. Why is there so much Lorde and Taylor Swift in your writing playlists? So, in terms of Taylor Swift, they're really, I do a lot more with, like, Fall Out Boy and Sam Tinnes and Imagine Dragons than I do Taylor Swift in general in my writing playlists. I do Taylor Swift on characters. I think most of the Taylor Swift that you're going to find in my playlists is in the Anna Woods playlist, because the album Reputation it's kind of a villain album, honestly, in my opinion. And it just really, really sums up kind of the vibe that I want Anna to give off with, this is why we can't have nice things, and ready for it, and, look what she made me do. That those songs are all sort of just kind of fit with Anna's personality, so that's why those ones are on there. Then some of them are just love songs that I like, because, you know, she's good at writing love songs, and my characters need them, apparently. Help. And then in terms of Lorde, I don't really know, honestly. I just like her music, and then some of it, like Glory and Gore, for instance, is also, in my opinion, a villain song. So so that one gets on my villain playlist because it's I don't know, it kind of reminds me of my villains a little bit. And then there's other ones too, but mostly just because I need villain songs, and the two of them do this. By the way, this is my actual water bottle, 64 ounces. It's huge. You should all get one. Could you give us a tour of your writing workspace? So I had to clean this up, and I took a couple of things down because I actually had some spoilery art on my desk. But yeah, so I'm gonna flip the phone around and show you guys where I write. Oh, actually, can I flip it around? I don't know. So yeah, so this is my writing space over here. So my wall is up here. It's all backwards. I'm really sorry about that. That's my Bible study area. And over here is where I keep my writing goals. And this is my desk over here. This is my chair. My laptops go over here. And then I put, my stuff is on this corner here, my current read. Woo. Roast review coming soon to a Goodreads near you. And those are the books up there. That's my Nielsen books, my Nielsen collection. And then I have my little tiny Iron Man and my coffee mug. And then that's my closet over there. The rest of my room is a mess right now, so I'm not going to show you guys that. But, and hopefully you could even see that. I didn't realize I couldn't turn the camera around. But anyway. And now the cat is back there. Great. Okay, so, yeah, that was probably not the quality you were hoping for. It wasn't the quality I was hoping for. But, I might end up just editing it and seeing if it works out. Okay, that's the end of the questions from Lila. We'll go to Nikki. Nikki says, what is the future book that you're most excited to write? Girl, you know what it is? It's Mountain Song. Just kidding. It's actually the Stark trilogy. I need a better name for that. That's my alternate history one. Who do you like more, Rashada or Derek? Nikki, I'm going to kill you. The right answer would be Rashada because he's so much of the heartbeat of the Pentagreen series at this point. But I'm going to have to go with Derek because I love him, and I'll give you more details on why later. And bonus, Kara or Esma? I'm pleading the Fifth Amendment on that one. I have the right to remain silent. What is your favorite kind of fantasy to write? Probably high fantasy, just because you can do so much more with it. Except I'm really bad at writing high fantasy. So, you know, I mean, I like magic, I like stuff. I like stuff. Intelligent. I like fantasy, and I like I like to have elements that you wouldn't find in our world, like magic and that kind of thing, in my fantasy. So, probably high fantasy, but I do like kingdom fantasy too, and urban fantasy on top of that is that's the genre that Not the Chosen One is in, of all things. So yeah, I'd probably go with high fantasy. Do you ever plan on writing in other genres like sci-fi, dystopian, or contemporary? I've tried writing contemporary a few times. It doesn't usually work. But I do plan to write at least one dystopian, which would be the Watch trilogy, and then there's another idea I have around that would also be dystopian. In terms of sci-fi, I don't actually like to read sci-fi. I mean, it's fine, but it's not a genre that I'm going to seek out in books. I'd much rather watch a sci-fi movie. So you're not going to find me writing too much of that. And this is the question that I'm going to murder Nikki for. I'm getting this on camera right now so we don't forget it. Alensha, Barashna, and Dalthang. Who would you kiss, who would you marry, and who would you kill? I hate that you made me answer this question. So we're going to go with the easiest one first off. I would kill Alensha because I could not do anything with her. She's the worst. I would kiss Dalthang because then I could just get it over with, and I could probably just use it as an excuse to, like, stab him in the ribs while I was doing it. That doesn't ever... Nobody in my series would ever even consider doing that sort of thing, honestly. And then I hate myself for saying this. Nikki, I'm coming for you. I would marry... This is on camera, oh my word. I would marry Barashna because somebody's got to be a decent parent to his children, and also because I could just, like, lock him in a basement or something, or, you know, he'd just wake up and be mysteriously dead one day. Wonder whose fault that was. But why do you do this to me? Okay, Nicole says, how do you organize all your writing stuff? I just put everything on docs, and then I do write some stuff on paper. I just kind of keep all that in a box that I have, and it all stays in one place, so I can usually find what I'm looking for, but sometimes I'll, like, write stuff on church bulletins or on, just random pieces of notebook paper, and then I'll be like, did I actually write that scene or not? And then I have a document called Random Storyness on Google Docs, which is where I just write down random scenes from random books that I haven't written yet that I feel like writing at that time, so I don't have to clutter up my documents. There is a scene in that document that is like the most top secret of all top secret, and you guys will kill me when you read it. But anyway, yeah, so that's the gist of that. It's mostly Google Docs. Do you get a lot of ideas, or do you get a few ideas that are really, really good? I would probably say more a few ideas. They kind of come in bursts. Like, I'll have a few weeks where I'm having inspiration everywhere, and then I'll have a long period of time where I'm just writing the same thing. And, like, once I've started a book and I've actually gotten into it and I'm invested in it, I can usually finish it. But, and then in terms of flash fiction, I almost always have ideas. But, that's the long and short of it. I get a few ideas every now and then I write them all down so I don't forget them, and I get to them eventually. How did you find your writing voice? Dude, I have no idea. Everyone's always like, your writing style is so nice, or work on bringing out your writing voice, and I'm like, do I have one? I don't know. Like, I really would love to write like Laini Taylor, or Maggie's, I know I can't pronounce her name right, Stiefvater, but like, I desperately want to write like them. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to. That's just not my style, but that's the voice that I want to have. Is there any book, fictional or otherwise, that leaves you wanting to write after you finish reading it? I don't know, really. Reading writing craft books usually make me want to write. And then the Goldstone Wood books. Those ones are excellent, and usually I find myself pretty interested in working on my work in progress when I'm done. Sarah, do you have any characters that you took out of your books, and did it help make the story better? So I have, in the earliest draft of The King's Daughter, there was a character named Tom, who was this really kind of abrasive, if you know what I mean, Gale from Hunger Games type character. And I ended up taking him out and replacing him with Clarence, which was a good idea because Clarence is actually a total cinnamon roll, and Tom was horrible. So, like, I don't really know why he was in there at all, really. I hadn't read The Hunger Games yet when I wrote that early version, but yeah, he was like a love interest for Esma, and no. And also, you guys are probably going to be really mad at me for this. Since editing my most recent draft of The King's Daughter, I actually removed Torin, Esma's younger brother, from the story. He's no longer a character because I had too much going on, I had too many characters, and I was able to give aspects of his personality and his power, which is speed, to Clarence, which helps, I think, because a lot of people said that Clarence was flat and needed more dimensions, so I took Torin's dimensionality and gave it to Clarence. So I would say that's definitely going to improve the story. And, yeah, so basically just working on other characters has really helped my writing. On a scale of 1 to 10, how sarcastic do you get when reading back over your own writing? Really sarcastic. Either that or I cry and bury it in a hole because it's terrifying. Like the earliest draft of The King's Daughter. Hang on, let me grab that actually. This is the earliest draft, and like, you guys, I swear, parts of it are in hot pink. Like, I wrote this whole thing in cursive. This is what some pages look like. And, this is back when Esma had she had three or four older brothers. They all got brutally murdered. and she had amnesia, so she couldn't remember any of them. And I read back through this thing, and it's terrifying. Terrifying, people. Approximately how many strands of hair have you pulled out while writing? Too many. Have you written any stories you'll probably not publish? I'm probably never going to do anything else with Sweat and Gold, my Rugelwood Press story that I wrote for the Snow White contest. I mean, I'd love to, but right now it's not a priority. What's your favorite length of story to write? Novel. Bree says, are you a plotter or a pantser? Girl, I'm a hardcore pantser. I have ideas, I know the plot, but I don't write it down. Ever. It doesn't work. What's your favorite genre to write? Fantasy. What was the first story idea you ever had? When I was 4 years old, I wrote a story about how much I hated preschool. Yeah. One song to describe your favorite work in progress. I'm going to go with The Riddle from the musical version of The Scarlet Pimpernel to describe book 2 of the Pentagreen series, The General's Children, because The Riddle really is, it's like this dynamic song between 3 characters, the 3 principal characters of that show. And, like, if you substitute 3 of my characters who are a family, you can guess, probably, they fit pretty much perfectly with the roles of each of the characters within that song. So there's, just the dynamic of it really, really works with the story. Chelsea says, which book has made the most impact on your writing life? I don't know, honestly. I don't read a whole lot of writing craft books, but I do know that reading some stories from some of my friends, my friend Michaela's novel, and then my friend Lila Kim's novella for the Rugelwood contest, The Seven Huntresses, both really just inspired me to work harder on my novel. Who are your top 5 favorite authors? Andrew Peterson, Anne Elizabeth Stengel, Trisha Mingrink, Jan Karen, and Laini Taylor. We'll just go with those ones. There's others, a lot of others, but for right now, we'll just go with those ones. If you could only listen to one album while writing for the rest of your life, what would it be? Since this is only while writing, and we're assuming that I get to keep the rest of my music for the rest of the time, I'm going to go with Two Steps from Hell's album Battle Cry, because I already write a lot to that, and it's instrumental, and it's really good. But my favorite songs are Flight of the Silver Bird and Star Sky. Note, you can listen to either of those while reading the scene in The King's Daughter where Bernethel is fighting on the wall. I wrote that whole scene to that song, so, and that's also my favorite scene in that work in progress. Bit of trivia. If you could bring this is from Christine. If you could bring any one of your characters to life, which one would you choose? Derek. How do you write and edit so fast? Girl, I don't know. It's mostly a matter of you have to carve out the time for what's important to you, and writing is important to me, and once I know the story that I'm working on, I just go, and I go, and I go, and I'll write thousands of words in a day because that's just how I do it. My current works are all taking a little bit longer because they're either less fresh or they're a little bit harder to figure out where the story is going. So, like, Not the Chosen One has taken me a while to get through, and I'm not writing that one anywhere near as fast. I'm working on it for a couple of weeks now, and I'm only 8,000 words into it. So there's an example right there. I'm not always fast, but when I am fast, it's because I'm really, really invested in the story. So that's my only tip, is just write the stories you love and go with that. How do you balance your writing life with everything else? Prioritize. If you don't have time for social media, don't do it. I spend a lot of time logged out of Pinterest because I do reflexively go on there. And I need to not do that when I need to focus. Basically, you want to get stuff done as fast as you can. I'm type A, so I'm very motivated to be doing something all the time. So you have to check off boxes all the time, constantly. So when I was during the school year, my school year basically consisted of get the school done, and then in the evening, if I have time, I would write. And you have to decide what in your real life takes priority and what in your writing life takes priority. So if your writing is what's the priority, like during NaNoWriMo, you're going to make time for it. But if, like last week we did VBS at my church, I didn't write hardly anything because I didn't have time for it. So you have to decide, what do I want to do? How do you come up with names for your characters? And then that's a question that someone else asked later. Do they have a certain meaning, or do you just like them? Mostly they just come to me. I just come up with names for my characters. I don't really know where a lot of them came from because they're older. But, I do, the only rules that I really have when I'm coming up with names were in the Pentagreen series because, in Venaria, the country where Rashada is from, all guys' names have to have an SH in them someplace, and all girls' names start and end with the letter A. So as a result of that, I have the rules where, like, the guy characters from that world from that country have names like Barashna, Rashada, Ulash, Sherman, Sheila, and then the girls have names like Aya, Anna, Amara, Alana, that kind of thing. So that's pretty much the only rule. So when I have guy characters from Venaria who are just random extras, you should see me being like, I need an SH, what is it? It's fun times. What's your favorite and least favorite parts of writing? Favorite part is first drafting. Least favorite part is when I'm getting towards the end of my edits and I don't know what to do. Grace says, who or what is your favorite villain character in your own works and why? It depends on what you mean by favorite, because I love the sort of villain and Not the Chosen One. He's one of my favorites, but he's not really a villain, so he doesn't count. And then in the Pentagreens, I love all 4 of my villains for different reasons. I mean, I mostly just hate 2 of them. I keep trying to come up with, like, bright sides, but basically I'll just throw Barashna and Alentia under a bus. I really will. And then, but my spoiler villain is probably my favorite. I'm not going to tell you his name because it's a spoiler, but I like him a lot. When I write him, he's fun. He's fun to write. Do you listen to music while writing? And if so, what albums or artists? Check my Spotify at Faith Thompson or Pentagreen Cat. I don't remember what you search to find it. I have a million playlists. I have 24 in the Pentagreens album alone. And yeah, so that's where you're gonna find all my music. Which one of your characters would you marry and why? I would marry Derek because I didn't write him to be like a dream guy. I didn't say what would my ideal husband look like and can I put him in my book anywhere. That's not what I was trying to do at all. My goal was simply just I want to write a really nice guy. And that's what ended up happening, and now I want to marry him. So, yeah, it would be Derek for sure, because I really love Derek. Janelle, favorite character you've ever written? Rish. If your characters came to life, would you get along with them or be friends with them? I think so. I think some of them would not know what to do with me, but I would mostly be friends with most of them. Do you have a particular place where you always write, or can you write anywhere? I can write pretty much anywhere. I haven't tried writing in an airport before. I feel like I'd be too distracted to do that. But in my house, I can write pretty much anywhere. Lilycat, what sorts of music do you listen to for scenes with different emotions? I listen to a lot of sad music. I'll usually pick one song for a scene and then put it on repeat for as many times as I need to listen to it. Like I said earlier, when I was writing the battle scene in book 1, I listened to Flight of the Silverbird pretty much the whole time. And then when I was writing, which I don't remember, there was another scene, I think it was in book 2, where I wrote, I don't remember, honestly. There's a lot of scenes where I'll pick one song and just play it over and over. Tell me something I don't know about Cariana. Without spoilers, she has a personal history that she is not aware of with 2 out of 4 of my villains. Personal. That she doesn't know about. It's fun. What are your tips for hammering out a first draft super fast? Just write. Write something good that you can read, because otherwise it's going to be impossible to get through, and editing, you're never going to want to pick it up again. I did that once where I didn't fix any typos and I couldn't even read the draft. But write it try to know the story and care about the story before you start, and then write, and just write, and go, and go, and go, and don't get distracted, don't stop writing, just write it. Do you stick to a writing routine? No, not really. Replace your real family members with characters of your choice from your books. What will your new family look like? Oi. So I probably want Esma's parents as my parents. That'd be Martin and Bernthel from the Pentagreen series. And then for sisters, I have 3 younger sisters, so if I needed 3 sisters, I'd probably go with Opal from the Watch trilogy, Cass from Not the Chosen One, and we'll just say Cariana as the 3rd one. Just None of them for any particular reason, just because I feel like they'd be really good to have as sisters. They're all really, they wouldn't get along well, the three of them, at all, but they'd be good to have on hand. Julian, what made you decide to start writing? A few years back, I mean, if we're not going back to when I was tiny, a few years back, I got hit really hard by a wave of inspiration, and I desperately needed to write my book, because the whole thing just kind of came together, and I figured out a couple of things that needed to be fixed in the early draft that I'd basically given up on, that would just reinvent the whole story and make it possible for me to write it, which basically means fixing Rashada's character arc. But that was it. That was what made me decide to write seriously, was figuring out my story. Have you ever written fan fiction? If so, for what stories? I started a fanfic. I've never finished any fan fiction, but I started one for a story way back in the day. I don't remember what story it is actually, but I've written some fan fiction. The only one I can remember at this moment was I wrote a fan fiction where I was going to retell the Phantom of the Opera, where Matham Giry is the villain and Raoul is the hero, because that's how I've always seen that musical. But yeah, I got like 3 pages into that and never picked it up again. Greatest pet peeve about writing stereotypes: pantsing is not dangerous. You can pants. It's okay. If you are a pantser, go for it. You are a queen. I support you. Unless you're a guy, in which case you're a king. But pantsing is a completely valid and wonderful way to write. It's how I do it. I have several friends who do it, and you can do it. Pantsing is okay. It's not horrible. You don't need to turn into a plotter just because it's safer or whatever propaganda plotters throwing out now. Apologies if you're a plotter. I love you too, but pantsing is not a bad thing. If you could have one character trail you around as you did your normal routine for a day, which character would you want to have around? In terms of my regular routine, I'd probably go with either Mel from Watched or Clarence from Pentagreens, just because I feel like they'd be a good friend and they'd just kind of be there for me and not get in my way, but also not be in the background. Which character would best handle trailing you for a day? Mel. Rose, do you prefer to make Pinterest boards or playlists for your books? Probably playlists, just because I have Pinterest, I like Pinterest, but I would live without Pinterest. I could not live without Spotify. Would you ever want your book to be made into a movie? Definitely, if they got the casting right. Like, I'm thinking, the problem is that Helena Bonham Carter is, super old now, so she couldn't play Alencia. So, I'm not sure how they would pull that one off, because she's I based Alencia off Helena Bonham Carter. So, yeah, we're gonna have to see how that works out. But, yeah. If you could co-write a book with another author, who would you pick? One of my friends would be fantastic. Probably either Nikki or Lila, if we're going with my author friends. But in terms of, big published authors, I would love to co-write a book with Laini Taylor. That would be a dream. I'm not seeing it ever happening, but it would be awesome. Do you include any references to fandoms or other things like that in your books? I try to avoid doing that sort of thing, because when I wrote my earliest versions of several of my books, I basically just made carbon copies. The earliest version of Pentagreens was sort of just a hybrid mix of Lord of the Rings and the Wingfeather Saga, just jammed together like this. Almost word for word. So I try not to stick too closely to anything. But then in terms of references, I'll mention bands and stuff in my my more modern stuff. In Watched, they listen to Imagine Dragons and Bastille and that kind of thing. But that's about it. And that's it. That's all the questions that you guys asked me. Thank you so much for submitting these. I hope you enjoyed watching this vlog. I'm sorry that it's super, super long. Thank you so much for watching and for questions, and I will see you guys later. Bye.